I just discovered a system that makes 2,000 to 3,000 cold calls per day and helped me hit my first 10K month with my agency for completely free. In this video, I'm breaking down how I hire, onboard, train, and manage my commission-based cold caller team step by step. And this exact system is booking me 6 to 7 appointments every single day consistently because I literally multiply myself. Let me break down the whole process so you can do the same. So I'm going to show you guys literally everything. So hiring, onboarding, building a culture, management, and scaling from someone who's actually done this. So you guys can just take all the sauce and go apply it right after this video. If you want this My Reward, have any questions, DM me on Instagram. Now, first of all, the first part is obviously hiring. So before you hire, the first thing what a lot of people don't talk about is how many people should I hire, right? I made the mistake of at the beginning, I hired like 2 people and then they churned after a week. I'm like, okay, I'm back at square one. So ideally, you want to have usually at least a couple backup on your team. But the way you can figure it out is actually this reverse engineering calculator where you basically, let me zoom in on this. You basically put in you fill in the green spots are here. So, okay, what is your offer worth? Let's say you have a $3,000 offer. Your average cash collected per close. So this is if you're doing like paid in fulls or something like that. Let's say you collect typically half that, so $1,500 on average. And obviously you want to make sure you track this. Now, what is your goal with your monthly cash? What do you want to be making a month? Let's say you want to be making that 10K a month like everyone and their mom wants to make. What's your current closing rate? You can see it already calculated how many clients we need to hit that. Now let's go to current closing rate. Let's say we're closing at 25%, so 1 out of 4. Our show rate, let's say our show rate's about 40%, so nothing special, just using very conservative numbers here, and your average booking rate. So the thing is with this, you should have these numbers, and you shouldn't go and build a cold calling team before you're an expert at cold calling yourself. Because what I thought initially is you can go and just build a team, and they can just go do it all for you. But how are you going to manage? How are you going to train them if they're better at cold calling than you? So you need to be the expert. You should have all this data and you should know what's a standard. So you know if this person is booking, maybe they're booking 1 out of every 150 appointments, but when you called, you were booking 3 out of 100, you know that person's below standard and they're subpar, therefore you let them go. But you would only know that if you went and did it yourself. So I'm a believer that before you outsource, before you hire, you need to be an expert or at least competent on how to do it yourself, meaning you actually put in the reps. Right? So the average booking rate's 1%. So 1 out of every 100 calls, which is pretty typical. And you're going to get numbers like this, but this literally tells you, breaking this down, you need to make 6,667 calls, 6667, no pun intended, but you need to make that many. So you need to make 6,667 calls over the course of a month, which basically means your total daily input is 333 calls. Now, this is probably calculating over 30 days. So take out weekends. So subtract 8 days from that. You need to do even more than that. So maybe, let's say like 400 calls a day, give or take. So we need to do, and just for simplicity's sake, we're going to say, hey, we need to make 333 cold calls per day to hit 10K per month. And that's how you reverse engineer it. So the next part is after we have that, we actually reverse engineer it. So if you need to make 333 calls a day and an average cold caller, let's say you're being realistic, about 100 calls a day, you're going to need 4 callers minimum, and always you want to include some room for human error. So if you need to make 400 calls a day to hit 10K a month based on this calculator right here, then I would go hire 5 or 6 callers so you have that room for error in there. Because some days, what if your caller gets sick, their internet goes out, they don't have like power, for example, they can't talk for whatever reason. Trust me, I've heard literally all of it. But you want to make sure you leave some room for error because remember, these people are humans. They're not robots. That's what I thought initially. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go build a team of killers. They're all going to do 200 dials a day. We're going to be doing 10 callers. That's 2,000 dials per day consistently. They're going to be booking 1%. That's 20 appointments a day. And then all of a sudden, oh, I can't call today. I don't want to do 200 calls today. I only did 50 calls. And then all this stuff happens. So you just need to make sure that you remember these people are humans that you're hiring. You're not hiring a team of machines or AI, at least not yet. So next part is you're going to go to Facebook groups. You're probably wondering, like, where do you actually find these people? Now, there's like Upwork, Fiverr, but I like Facebook groups because, well, I don't want to go pay a fee to find someone, but also it's like you can literally get thousands of people reaching out to you, hundreds of people reaching out to you by making a single post. You're going to go in these Facebook groups. I like this one, so cold callers and closers. We have appointment setters, virtual assistant hub, or South Africa, work from home, online jobs. Pretty much the main thing, what I've seen in terms of like areas where the best callers come from, because of course you do want to make sure they have good English, right? Because unfortunately for for a lot of business owners, if they hear certain accents, they immediately shut off and they're not going to be, and they're not going to be like open to hearing it. And they still are, but you're gonna have to make more calls. So ideally, someone who has people who have good English. Typically, I found like Egypt, South Africa, countries like that. Obviously, UK, Europe is pretty solid as well. But these groups right here are some solid ones. Basically, you're going to go in these groups and you're going to make a post, something super simple, like, hey, looking for a cold caller as soon as possible, earn up to $1,000, $1,500 per month. Thing is, if you're doing commission-based, you want to say up to. You don't want to say fully commission-based because you're going to lose out on a lot of people. You want to say up to X amount per month. Now, it might not seem like a lot, but in these other countries, $1,500 a month is awesome for them because of the currency exchange rate. But I always say up to. You can do like $2,500, but this is literally the exact post I would make. And you say, hey, cheeky little call to action, DM me if you're interested. So you go over here, basically in your group, you go join the group, you post. I always do like red background. You basically type, hey, looking for a cold caller. And then what you do also, you can add this, you can send it to multiple groups where you literally go and just add these and it will post them all in the same group. You click done and it legit posts the entire thing in all these groups, and you're going to start getting hundreds of DMs within like minutes. And that's exactly how you go and do that. Now, once you get these DMs, you're probably wondering, like, what do you actually do? The whole point of DMs is, number one, qualify and book. So the first thing I always want to look for with, like, the biggest qualifying factor is, for me, is going to be their English. So right here, this guy he sent over, and this is actually someone I did hire. I love the guy. I think he's from the UK. But I always want to hear them see a voice note. So he did awesome here if he just sent it right away. But a lot of times they'll just say, oh, interested, send me more info. And then I'm going to say, hey, could you please send a quick voice message, tell me about yourself. But you want to make sure you get this voice message from them so you can even see if it's even worth a conversation. And like this guy, I was like, dude, your English is awesome, and I wanted to go chat with him right away. And that's the whole point. You see right there, booked him in right after, and then he booked in, and then we chatted the next day. And it's as simple as that, but basically you want to make sure you hear them. You want to make sure you hear them and they have good English. And from there, then you're just going to go qualify them, and then you're going to book them in with your calendar. It's that simple. After that, this is the actual interview process. So actually taking the call with them. So the main questions I like to ask is basically, hey, why do you want to do cold calling? Like, how do you handle rejection and stuff like that? Because you need to find people who are resilient. If like they've never cold called, or they have a weak mindset, they're going to end up making 100 calls and then just tap out because they're bored, they're tired of it. You want to ask, like, hey, have you done cold calling before? What were your results? Walk me through a call where you booked a meeting or closed deal. This is optional. I don't know. You don't need to have this. I usually don't. I would say that sometimes, usually not, to be honest. And then basically have them just go through a little role play. You can either have them pull up their script that they've done before, or I usually would share my screen or send the script over, have them go through it, and basically just kind of do some little role plays there. And a little cheat code you can do is, after they go through the script, you tell them something, tell them a tweak, like, hey, I think you should tweak this in the opener. And you tell them to go through it again. And if they made that tweak, then that's probably someone that you want, because then you know that they're coachable. If they just keep doing the same thing over and over, it's not someone you probably want to work with because they're not coachable and it's not going to be a good fit. So that's something, like a little cheat code of what I look for. And then just ask them, hey, how do you stay motivated? How do you track progress? And then you want to get into like the numbers and stuff. At the end, obviously the money, like how much are they going to be making is what they're wondering. And this is the next part. Now for compensation, there's not a one size fits all. It completely depends on your situation, but there's really 3 different styles that I like. Number one is just doing like 10% per deal, or just strictly per deal. And these are just like placeholder numbers, $15 per appointment and 5% per deal. So you're adding per appointment they book and per deal, but then obviously you're giving them less per deal. Or you can do like a base and like 3% per deal. Right now, the difference is there's pros and cons to each. I'm going to show you which ones that the pros and cons of each one. So if you're just doing per deal, you're going to have the highest churn by far. It's the hardest one to find A players because usually they can go get a base somewhere. That's what I've seen. You don't get a ton of killers. You do for sure get some people. I've had some amazing callers come in from just doing this. It's obviously good for your end because there's literally no risk on your end. If they do perform, though, they can make a lot of money, but also it is usually a longer cycle, and the gratification for them actually calling and seeing the deal tends to be a bit longer. Just because, especially if you're not closing at a really high percentage, it's tough for them because they're doing all this work, they're booking these appointments, they're doing their job, but then you're not closing them, which even I dealt with a little bit, and it kind of sucks on both ends because like you feel bad and yeah. But yeah, if you're closing that decent percentage, it can be really solid. But I've also seen sometimes like with these, it's just hard to keep them motivated when they're booking the appointments and they're not closing. So that's a big thing there. Now, the other style is pay per appointment and a percentage per deal. I do like this one because there is a bit less churn, because the incentive for them is better. Is, hey, you're getting paid per appointment you book, but the only thing is they might just book in any appointments, like low quality appointments. So what you can actually do is say, hey, $15, $20 per qualified appointment. And then obviously you need to tell them beforehand what is a qualified appointment, but then like 5% per deal on the back end. This model, I do like it, to be honest, if you're able to do this. Of course, it is more risky on your end, but not really. I mean, if you're closing at even 10%, that's $150 in appointments to close a whatever $3,000 deal. You're giving them 5%. That's $150, $300. That's basically 10% there if you're closing at 10%. So that's still a really, really good numbers. Otherwise, you can go like base, like $500 a month, $750 a month, plus a percentage per deal. Now, this is the best for finding those A players, meaning those really good guys, those cold callers, those killers who are just going to go and just dominate. Lowest churn typically, but of course it is more risky in your end, which is why you're able to bring in better people. But you need to have a good foundation in place, but you will get the best people on this offer for sure. But they all do work. I've done every single one. A lot of these commission-based ones, they do work well, but just know they won't work unless you follow these next steps, which I'm going to show you. And again, if you have any questions on this, want the Miro boards, DM me on Instagram. It's in the description below, or noah.haupt. Now, after you actually hire them, how are we going to onboard them? This is just as important. If all this stuff right here, this is step one, and these parts right here are really the most important parts moving forward. So first thing, you're going to send this welcome email, basically, hey, welcome to the team. Just get them hyped. It's kind of like when you onboard a client, you want them to feel a part of the team and to feel like, oh, I made a good decision. I feel welcome here. So after that, you want to send them your training course. And this is something that I basically made from another guy. I forget who I saw it from, but it's something super simple like this. Basically, module one, like our product and actually what we offer, to cold caller training. So actually, I have like 30, 45 minutes of call recordings of me actually going and booking appointments from live calls. And that's as well why you need to be making calls, because then you need to give them like what it actually looks, what a good call looks like, what a bad call looks like. Do like going over the script, the rebuttals and objections, walking through the go high level dialer or whatever dialer you use. I also like adding some quizzes in there as well, where they can kind of you can quiz them on their progress and then going through next steps. But like something super simple like this, I mean actually it's not super simple, but like you're just going over, letting them know exactly everything, because you set it up once and then you can just pump callers through it, because it's the same thing over and over. But a little hack to make it even smoother, or to make it as efficient as possible, is when you get your first caller, you actually onboard them manually, but you just record all of these calls. And that's your training course right there. If I had to go back, that's the way I would do it, where you have let me draw this out. You have your caller right here. Instead of sending them through this course, you basically have a call with them where you go through our product. And then that's call number one. And then you have call number two, which is going through doing like role plays. And you have call number three going through setting up the dialer. And all you do is you just record those. And then this whole thing is your course right here, which is probably the easiest way. Then they'll have questions as well, and it will help out the other callers. But that's how I would do it instead of going and making a full course. But this still obviously is really good if you do have the time and you want to go do it, but this is a more efficient way. After that, you want to go and add them to a group chat. You need to have a separate group chat with your callers. I recommend Discord, because you can have just different channels, like resources for them to put call recordings in. You definitely want to have a wins channel, especially when you have multiple callers in there. It just kind of pumps everyone up. Main chat, news, and then you have like I call it like group huddle, or like a live chat where they can go and just do like role plays together if they want. But I would always have some sort of chat, whether it's Discord, WhatsApp, but I like Discord because you can have the different channels in there. Now that we have these people hired and onboarded, this is probably the most important part right here, is building a culture. Now, what is a culture? It's basically, I'm not going to go pull up the Webster dictionary definition. I'm just going to go off the dome right here. I'm spitballing. But it's basically like you want to make them feel like they're a part of a team. Something I've noticed is people don't want to feel like they're working for you. They want to feel like they're working with you. So they feel like, oh, this person's just paying me, I'm a contractor. They're not motivated at all. They don't feel a part of the team. And if you've ever played sports, like a team sport, the teams that usually do the best are the ones who just have the best chemistry. They have the best team culture. And the ones who
who don't do good are the ones who are they don't get along, they don't have chemistry. And that's why with a lot of these like super teams in some like sports, if you guys watch sports at all, is like these super teams where they just do terrible because they don't get along, they can't play together, they're just all individuals. That's exactly what you don't want. You want to have a team where everyone gets along, everyone has chemistry. And along that note though, something that I've realized, the single easiest thing you can do for building a culture for your team is only bring on people who fit the culture in the first place. I remember in the beginning, I brought a cold caller on who was probably like 40 or 50 years old or something, and it's just like it just like killed the whole culture, because you have like I attract younger people obviously because I'm a younger guy, right? So people in their 20s, late teens, stuff like that, and that's like who I hang out with because that's my demographic, my age range, right? But if I bring on someone who's 50, all of a sudden it just makes it pretty awkward. It's like you're hanging out with a parent. No offense to like you guys if you are older, but if you are older, then you're going to get along with that crowd, like right? People who are like you. People like people who look like them, who sound like them, who speak like them. So the first thing, even with hiring, that I want to go over as well is like right here in the interview process, if you can tell, okay, I would genuinely go get a coffee, go out to dinner with this person, like hire them. Like that's the biggest thing for me. Like now all the callers that I hired, like I actually like love them all. I could go and like just chat with them for hours, like literally every single one. And that's the first part before you do any of this. That's a prerequisite, is hiring people who actually fit your culture, like people you would want to be friends with. And that's like the simplest way I could say that. But then you want to make them feel like they're working with you. So make them feel, you want to answer these questions to them. So like, what are your goals with the company? Tell them where you're looking to take the company. Where do you see the company headed in 3 to 6 months? It's the next 6 to 12 months. Because if you set big goals and they don't, if you set like, oh, I'm not looking to grow, I'm just looking to do this, and they're like, oh, I don't really align with that, then that's fine, but they're not a good fit. You want to make sure that they can see the long-term vision of your company. Or if you tell them, yeah, I'm looking to scale this thing to 100K a month in 6 months, we're going to start pumping out ads, doing more volume, and that's why you're going to be in this team. You're going to be integral role of scaling us up there. And that goes to this next question is what type of role will they play? This is the most important part. If you identify a specific role for them on exactly, hey, here is your part and here is how you are necessary in order from us getting to point A, which is whatever that may be, to point B. But you need to have them feel bought in on the mission, on the culture, and they should be excited every day because they're feeding into that vision. And here's like just a simple visual. Your company is this car. The cold callers, your team, they're a piece of that car. They're like the wheel. If you miss a wheel, all of a sudden the company just does its caboose is dragging on the road and it just shoots sparks everywhere and it just stops. Right? Maybe pretty solid analogy there, you can tell. But you see what I mean? It's like you need to position it, because this is totally true. You're only as good as your team, and that's what I've realized, and that's why it took me a while. But also, I'm making this video so in depth, and there's a lot more parts than you guys probably thought. You probably thought I was just hiring and onboarding them, but there's a lot of stuff here. But you need to make them feel again like they're actually a part of it, and they're like a necessary part. I'm running all over because I'm just talking a lot, but that's truly how you need to make them feel. Now, the last part of it is actually management and scaling. So how are you going to actually manage people's scale? Which again, this is so important. All these parts are important. The one thing I will say is when people think about hiring cold callers, at least what I thought there was like 1 or 2 parts in here and then it's done. But I will tell you right now, however hard you think it is, multiply that by 10, by 20, by 100. It is way harder than you think, because again, you're managing people, you're working with people. You're not just working with robots. Right? So you need to actually do all of these things. Otherwise, it's not going to work and you're just going to get terrible results. But again, even if you do, you live and you learn, and then you'll get better next time. You'll build skills. But basically, for the easiest thing I can say is, number one, daily group calls. So every single day, you're going to have a group call with them at the same exact time. The format for these calls is, number one, just like check in with them, build rapport. Hey, how you guys doing? How's your day been? What's up? Did you watch that game last night? Just like chat like your buddies, because again, you should bring on people who you can just go and chat with. Second, go over questions. So hey, does anyone have any questions? Anything you want to go over right away? Third is call reviews. So once they start making calls, all of your calls should be recorded. And then fourth, if you have time, you can do role plays as well. But this is the basically the formula for the calls. If they haven't done calls yet, then you switch these two. You do role plays before call reviews. But this is where a lot of the money's made right here in these call reviews / role plays. This is the most, because it's the most like realistic. It's the most like they're actually making the calls. So that's the format for those calls. Usually you can do like 30 minutes a day, 45 minutes max. You can do more if you need, but you for sure need to have daily calls in there. Now, the last part, or the second last part, is tracking all your data. So you should know, and your callers should know every single day to go in here and track literally all their numbers. So this way you can see, okay, how many calls did they make, how many picked up, and this is I think for I need to tweak this a bit, but you can see basically, hey, what's the booking rate? You can see all of this, how many people picked up, and you just tweak this to picked up. And this is in the Miro board as well. But you can just see, like, hey, the numbers, and let's drag this down so it actually calculates it. See, and then it shows you the numbers. So if your pickup rate is only 11%, that probably means your number is not good. Like the phone number is going to spam or something like that. But just making sure you're tracking all the data, you know your booking rate, your pitching rate, all this sort of stuff. So then what you can do is go and iterate, and you can find the bottlenecks and tweak your scripts. So like I had a guy in my free Discord, he asked me, how many like scripts have you made? How many tweaks, variations of your script have you made? I told him I made probably like 75. And he's like, oh, can you just send me the 75th one? And the thing is, it's not that simple. It fully depends on, number one, your niche, your style, your callers. But it's just like, once you have your team, you're going to be tweaking the script like literally multiple times a day. And if you're not doing it right. You're just not looking at the data enough. But you basically, the whole point of business is what you do is you find the bottlenecks and you just make tweaks based on the bottlenecks. So if you're getting a low pass-through rate, meaning your opener, they're saying, no, I'm not interested. You need to tweak your opener. If you're getting through your opener a lot and you're pitching them and they're not booking with you, then it's something with your pitch, and you just keep making tweaks based on that, and then keep going over call reviews and doing role plays to fix that. And then the last bonus is challenges plus incentives. So this is something that is super helpful. Again, this goes into like building the culture. This could probably be over here as well, but giving them like little fun challenges. Like I remember I did, first person who books 3 appointments a day, 5 appointments a day gets a $20 Netflix gift card. Whoever makes the most calls this month gets a new microphone. Like just stuff like that keeps them motivated, especially if they're commission based. You for sure should be doing stuff like this where you're giving them these little fun challenges and incentives, and makes them feel like they're a part of something and they're feeling that competition, because then they start motivating each other. And especially with that wins column, the wins channel in your Discord, so one person starts blowing it up. They're like, oh, I'm going to get this microphone. And then Johnny over here is like, not so fast, Jose. I'm going to go and get this microphone. This is mine. And then they start competing with each other. But it just keeps it fun, friendly. And this is how you build a cold calling team that just pumps out calls, that has a super low churn, is actually excited and motivated to call for you every single day. So I hope this was valuable for you. If you want this Miro board, the sheets, the tracking, all the stuff in here, DM me on Instagram at noah.helped. Otherwise, it's in the description. Or if you have any questions about literally any of this SMMA in general, go DM me on Instagram as well. Other than that, I appreciate you watching this video. I hope you got some serious value from this, and go check out the video on the screen, and I will see you there. Peace.